chapter number 16 of your book. We know that water and air are essential for living, and these things are provided by the nature itself. That is why we can call them as natural resources, things which are provided by the environment, by earth or by nature, whatever name we call it, and which we use for living, which are used for our living. It is called a resource and a natural resource. We can also, since all these things are provided by the earth, we can also call them earth resources. Okay, now these earth resources or natural resources are of two types: inexhaustible natural resources. Inexhaustible means something which does not finish very easily. These resources are the resources which are available in large quantity and which are not in the danger of finishing anytime soon. Example for this can be air and sunlight. Our sun is a star which is giving energy since last 6,000 years, and this is its middle age. So we expect that another 5,000 years to 6,000 years we will be receiving energy from the sun. So sunlight and air is inexhaustible resource. Now we come to exhaustible resource. These are the resources which are available in limited quantity, and these resources can finish in a time frame. But if we do not, especially if we do not use them properly, if we are very careless in using them, or if we waste them, then these resources can't finish. So these resources are exhaustible resources. Now amongst the exhaustible resources also we have two different kinds of resources. Renewable resources, by the name itself it suggests renewable. That means these resources can be regenerated or replenished by a certain means over a period of time. It won't happen that today we do it and tomorrow it will come back. No. It takes about 50 to 100 years, but we can replenish these resources. An example for this is forest, wood. A forest can grow in about 100 years. Soil can be remanaged in about some years. In about 100 years, the soil becomes barren, but if you give it some humus, some kind of a treatment, then it becomes fertile again. And water. Okay. Then non-renewable resources. These are the resources which cannot be renewed or replenished over a period of time. Like you have coal. Coal and petroleum and natural gas. They took about millions of years to form. Now we don't have that much of million years to have them replenished, and neither those conditions in which they were formed are available to us. So coal and petroleum are non-renewable exhaustible sources, natural resources. But this chapter concentrates on water, which is, again I'll say, a renewable natural resource. Water, we know, is essential for living, all our life purposes, all our life's processes, all our life processes need water, be it digestion, be it distribution of nutrients, be it excretion, we need water. Then seeds, they need water to germinate. Seeds will not germinate if there is no water or no moisture present in them. This is one activity that we've been doing since class 5th, so we know that seeds need germination, water for germination. For photosynthesis, water is required. Now if the plants make their food, then also water is required to distribute the nutrients to the various parts of the plant. Water is required to maintain our body temperature. Human beings or anyone which is a hot-blooded animal, we require water to maintain the body temperature. It happens through sweating. When there is too much of heat in our body, we sweat it out and the body temperature is regulated. Then water, we know, is used for our daily things like bathing, like washing, like cooking, and many other things, gardening and all, cleaning and all those things. Okay, then water is an essential or an important source through which we generate hydroelectric power. Okay, so it is a source of electricity, it is used for transport, and it is used in agriculture. Then, and also the last point I can say, it provides habitat to many living organisms. There are many plants and there are many animals which live only in water. So this is that these are the uses of water, and this shows how important and how essential water is for us. Now, how much water is present on the earth? If you actually see earth from the space, you will see that earth appears to be a blue colored planet. Earth is called the blue planet, and the reason for this is earth has the 75% of the surface of earth is covered, 71% of surface of earth is covered with water. But and water on earth exists in all the forms. See, matter exists, we know that matter is in three forms: solid, liquid and gas. So water exists in all these three forms. In solid, it exists in the form of ice caps, which are in the polar region. It exists in the form of snow. It exists in the form of glaciers, the moving rivers of ice. And in liquid form, we can see it in oceans, we can see it in lakes, in rivers, in ponds, and also as underground water. Then in the gaseous form, it appears to be in the form of water vapor, which leads to the formation of cloud. And the balance between these three, the interchanging forms of these three, leads to the formation of water cycle and maintain the balance of water on earth. Now coming on to the availability of water that we can use. So we know that 71% of Earth's surface is covered with water. Now out of that 71%, 97.5% of water is available in oceans, in seas. So therefore this water is saline. We cannot use it. It is unpotable. We cannot drink that water. So it is of no use for us. Then comes what is left is 2.5% of water. Out of this 2.5% of water, 1.7% of water is frozen in forms of ice peaks, in form of ice caps or the polar caps, and in glaciers. Again, it is not for use for us. Only the water that is available to us is 0.8% of water, which is in the form of fresh water or surface or underground water. It can be available in the form of river, lakes and also the underground water. So this much water is available for our consumption, for our use. Therefore, we can say that there is too much of water but only too little for us to use. Now, what are the sources of water? For people like you and me who live in city, we get the water supply from the taps in our houses, which comes through the municipal corporation. Now this tap water is actually coming from the river or pond or another source of water which will be near the city. This water is collected and it goes through sedimentation, decantation, it goes through filtration, it goes through chlorination, and then it reaches to our house. But people who live in villages generally use wells, hand pumps and tube wells. So this water is coming directly from underground, or they might be using the water directly from the rivers or ponds. So the people who live in village generally use the water which is available under the ground, or we call that water the groundwater. Now groundwater is an important source of water. You know, you would have seen if we dig the earth a little, if we start digging, we will find that the soil becomes, in the pit, the soil becomes little moist, and if we continue digging a few more meters, we will get to the source of water. There might be some water which is collected in under the ground, under the surface of the earth. It comes through the natural seeping process of water. When every time it rains, there might be hails, there might be snow, whatever. This water gradually percolates down into the ground, and it fills in the empty spaces and cracks that are between the soil, and it reaches up to a layer where you have the rocks which do not allow the water to go through. Okay, so these rocks become the impervious rocks, and this process, and thus this water gets collected over there, which is what we call as groundwater. Okay, now the process of seeping the water, the process of water seeping underground is called infiltration of water. So the water gradually infiltrates through. It can be through the various forms of precipitation, rain, hail or snow, or even the river water or the lake water. It gradually finds a lower area and it seeps down into certain areas where the huge amount of water is collected over imporous or impervious rocks. These rocks do not allow the water to pass through them, and this collection of water is called the groundwater. The upper limit of this water, the upper surface of this water, groundwater, is called the water table. Now, water table of a place, it can vary from place to place. Places which are near the sources of river or a water body, or the places which have more of soil will have more groundwater or a higher water table, and it might be varying in depth also. Some places will have very deep, you'll have to dig very deep to get to the groundwater. Some places the water table will be higher and you will find it at a very lower height also. And water table doesn't remain same constant throughout. It goes down, it falls down during the summer months or during the dry season. The reason is that at that time there is no rainfall available, so the water also gradually dries up. Okay, this groundwater which is available to us passes through many layers of soil, through many rocks, and that is why most of the impurities are filtered out. But since it is passing through the few porous rocks, it might have a few salts dissolved in them. Otherwise, this water is generally a pure form of water and can be used directly. If we find huge reservoirs of groundwater inside the earth's surface, which is collected over impervious or non-porous rocks, this huge collection of groundwater, underground water, is called an aquifer, and this aquifer is used for most of the water needs of a place. Okay, so this groundwater can be taken out from this aquifer through wells, through hand pumps and through tube wells. And this water is then used for household purposes, for agricultural purposes and for industrial purposes. Water table of a place rises up during the rainy season and falls down during the summers, or sometimes due to the excessive use of this water, the groundwater, then also the water table of the place falls down. The slow and gradual lowering down of this groundwater is called the depletion of water table or groundwater depletion. And this depletion of groundwater happens. Normally this groundwater is being recharged by the natural processes through rain, through precipitation, but sometimes when we use excess amount of groundwater, then this groundwater falls down and this leads to the depletion of groundwater. This is a crisis that we are all waiting for now, and it is about to knock at our doors because we all are using too much of groundwater, and this is the reason that this chapter is being introduced at your level, so that you get an awareness of the amount of water that we are using and try to conserve the water. Now, what are the reasons behind depletion of water table? The first and the foremost reason is increase in population. Increase in population means more people needing house, more people needing shops, factories, schools, hospitals. That means more construction. So when you have more construction, lots and lots of water at the construction site is taken out from the groundwater. In fact, there are a few societies in the adjoining areas of Delhi, in the satellite cities of Delhi like Noida and Gurgaon, which are completely using the groundwater. So that means it is leading to the depletion of the groundwater. Then increase in industries. Huge amount of industries are dependent on the water that they get that they take out from the underground. So when they use this amount of water, it will lead to the depletion of the groundwater. Increase in agricultural activities. Initially, earlier, people used to sow only once. They used to have one crop. Now we are having multiple crops in a year. And now the farmers are not dependent on the rainwater only. So they are using irrigation methods which are like tube wells and all, through which they are taking out the groundwater. Now this is again leading to the depletion of groundwater. In fact, even in if you see Punjab and Haryana were earlier wheat growing areas, but now they are growing wheat as well as rice, which means they are growing a crop which needs more water, and this water is, where is it coming from? It is coming from the tube wells and from the underground water. Then deforestation. If the trees are cut down, the soil will not be able to hold the moisture. So whatever rain, even if it is falling, too much of rain is falling at a place, this rainwater will just straight away be washed away along with the topsoil. So if it is not able to hold the moisture, there will be no recharging of the groundwater. The groundwater will gradually deplete. In fact, it happens especially in places which are on the hills, and if they don't have too much of tree cover, the rainwater is washed away and the groundwater is as such very less over there. Then one very important reason of depletion of groundwater is decrease in effective area of seepage. If you have concrete all around, like especially in cities, everything is concrete. Your pavements are concrete. You don't have open spaces and green spaces where the water can seep through. The water will not seep through the concrete. So it will only seep through the area or the land which does not have any cementing work done on it. So if the area of seepage is reduced, less water will go inside and less water will reach the groundwater, and therefore the level of water will fall down. There are places in Rajasthan where it is now made compulsory to have an open area, so that whatever rainwater falls down is collected and it recharges the groundwater. Now, another reason is scanty rainfall. If the rainfall is not, we know that rainfall is not same everywhere and it is not the same. It doesn't fall in the same amount at every place. There are certain places where the rainfall is very, very less. So what are the people of that place dependent on? They are completely dependent on the groundwater for their daily needs. So these are the reason for the falling down or depletion of water table. Now we come to water management, which we will be learning in the next video.